How do we make sense of economics? Here on our campus, the University of Tennessee at Chattanooga, Dr. Claudia Kramer is the Scott L. Probasco Distinguished Chair of Free Enterprise and a professor of economics at the Gary W. Rollins College of Business. She's now writing a monthly column for Business Trend from the Chattanooga Area Chamber of Commerce. Claudia, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ray.
Let's talk about how you were fascinated by economics growing up in West Virginia.
Growing up in rural West Virginia, I think one of the most memorable times I can think of looking back is we were on the Ohio River. So I grew up in a small town called Gallipolis Ferry, West Virginia. It's right on the Ohio River. And in order for us to buy our groceries, we had to drive up the river toward Point Pleasant, cross the bridge into Ohio, backtrack down the river, and there were many stores, several different big box grocery store options. And I was always so annoyed. Just to get to our groceries, it would take 20 minutes. And it's like, why are all the stores in Ohio? And I think that planted this seed of curiosity of really trying to understand why on the West Virginia side of the Ohio River was a lot of undeveloped farmland that really wasn't used for farming anymore. It's beautiful. But then on the other side, on the Ohio side, were all of these stores and development. You could see economic livelihood and entrepreneurship. And why wasn't that happening? And I couldn't fully understand it until I get to college years later and discover economics as a discipline. I was completely unaware. And you start to then be able to unpack how state level policies determine all aspects of our life, including where businesses go.
And people in this area can relate to that because Chattanooga in Southeast Tennessee, on the border with Georgia and just a stone's throw away from Alabama and Western North Carolina.
That's right. So being a state where you're bordering other states and people can get access to stores or just different products from other states, it does then influence your own state level policy.
How do you decide to write a column?
I've been thinking for a while about the importance of outreach as an academic. We tend to stay in our ivory tower, as we are criticized. And I get it now. We're incentivized to do our research, and basically our research is in some sense written for other academics. Regular public, they don't read our academic articles. Well, it's our job to communicate the importance of what we're doing research-wise that does get published in the academic journals. We need to communicate that to the public at large. Economists have lots of things to say on a whole host of issues, and our research can inform policy. So for a while, I'd been thinking it's kind of time to figure out how to do more economic education for the public. And especially in the last several months with a lot of what I see as economic illiteracy in terms of some decision-making and policy that's coming down the pipeline, I thought this is the perfect time. I need to create a space where we can communicate what the economists are saying about these issues.
Presenting the facts on the ground so people can arrive at the best decisions, even if people might arrive at starkly different decisions and disagree.
So one of the things that drew me to economics was that it does not tell you what to think. It is not an opinion. It is what we call positive analysis. Economics, again, in my opinion, makes all of us better thinkers. You get to arrive at your own conclusion. So this is how to think about it. You and I have vast differences in terms of our preferences and our thoughts and our desires and our goals. And every day that can in some sense change. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's how we're kind of built. But what economics does is we say, okay, you get to decide your own goals, hold your own opinions and thoughts. Economics evaluates how best to get there. And so we're doing that type of calculation all the time. Think about, I'm hungry, I need to eat. Where am I going to eat? What am I in the mood for, right? You're doing all of that type of mental calculation. We're never going to debate on whether or not you should or shouldn't be hungry. That's a funny way of saying it, but whether or not you should or shouldn't want the thing that you want is completely off the table in economics. That's normative. We leave that up to the philosophers. What we say is, hey, if you want to achieve X goal, you need to satisfy your hunger. What's the best way of doing that, given usually your budget constraints and subject to your own preferences and desires? And so when we then take that way of thinking and apply it to hot button topics, we again try to remove all of that normativity, all of those differences in opinions, and we say, what's the goal at hand? What is the task that we're trying to achieve? Is that more jobs? Is it higher economic growth? Whatever it might be. And then we, as the economists, evaluate all of the different options of how you can achieve that goal.
And there is a need for more how to think over what to think, whether we're talking about on a campus or in the community beyond.
One of the reasons why I want to start this column is to say we can talk to each other if we just, in some sense, shake out all the noise. What is it that you are really wanting? What do you want? Once we nail that down, then we can talk and we can say, okay, well, we can think about adopting this policy or a different type of policy, and it's not screaming at each other anymore or calling each other names. It's truly about trying to understand each other's goals and desires, and then how best can we get there? How best can we, through civil discourse, through debate, through discussion, talk to each other and arrive at conclusions where everyone feels comfortable with that.
All right. Claudia, thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Ray.
For more, visit ChattanoogaTrend.com. That's ChattanoogaTrend.com.